Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back for another EVE Online video. Today's video is going to be a discussion video because I want to talk a little bit about two topics that have been very hot in EVE Online over the last week. I've been mostly looking at it from the outside in, and actually I've mostly checked Reddit to see what was going on, and that, I think, especially on my first topic, the Alliance tournament, was a bit of a mistake, because if you kept up with what was happening on Reddit, you really got the vibe that CCP had completely scrapped the Alliance tournament, that we have another Blizzard Overwatch esports debacle where they're just completely, oh no, it's Heart of the Storm, I think, where they just completely dropped esports all of a sudden, no more support for that. And then, of course, just I think like a week ago or so, they cut like 800 people out of Activision in general, including lots of community members and things like that. So you really got the impression that the sky was falling, that the Alliance tournament was over, and that, well, CCP was no longer CCP. But I personally read up on the article, and I do think that we should nuance that at least a little bit. My next topic after that, though, is the current event in the agency, the Guardians Gala, and there, of course, I have to be honest, that feels very unrewarding, and I do want to talk a little bit about that as well. But first of all, if you want to read up on this yourself, if you want to follow up on this video, you can always go to eveonline.com, of course. There you can press articles. And over here you find the latest news articles and the dev blogs as well, of course. If you want to read up, for instance, on what's going to happen with the chat system, they're going to keep updating it, for instance. And then, of course, releases, things like that get announced there as well. But we're mostly interested in the Alliance Tournament 17, an update by CCP Falcon. I got this open in another tab. And it's basically an announcement that, yeah, CCP is not holding a FanFest in Iceland this year. And they're also not going to organize an Alliance tournament this year. Lots of complaining about that, and quite understandable. There are some people and some alliances that are heavily invested in the Alliance tournament. It is their yearly highlight for EVE Online. It's something that they completely live towards, and so they have been super vocal. But I'm not going to read the entire article here. This sentence, though, I think is important. For 2019, we've also decided to take an Alliance tournament hiatus while we look at how we can better support competitive PvP and capsular tournaments in the future, both those hosted by CCP and those by the community. So this, in my opinion, is not a scrapping of the Alliance tournament. CCP is taking a one-year break from the Alliance tournament in order to rethink their strategy a little bit, and from that perspective, I honestly can understand this. The Alliance tournament, while fun, and I understand that lots of people enjoyed betting on all of these matches as well, for instance. It was a highlight every year, something to look forward to, but mostly just as a passive viewer. In order to participate in this event, you had to be really hardcore, part of one of the really big alliances or a super specialized group. And yeah, while it did take an incredible amount of effort, time, and risk for those participants to get to the level that was required for the Alliance tournament, and I have a lot of respect for that. It's something that I could never do. At the same time, it's something that I could never do. And so it never felt like the Alliance tournament would ever really come in reach for a more solo-minded player like myself. And so my personal take on this sentence and this announcement is that basically CCP is going to look for ways and tools to allow for competitive PvP in EVE Online in a different setting than the Alliance tournament, and probably try to open that up to more players, thus create a sort of a system within the game itself a little bit more, rather than have to transport you to Jove space so that you can duke it out away from the sandbox, basically. Now, this will have its controversy of its own, of course. A competitive PvP scene, a tournament scene, that means lots of rules, lots of restrictions. You need to try and find a certain balance in these types of settings, and that does clash with the very sandbox nature of EVE Online itself. But, well, from my perspective here, considering the amount of complaining that we've seen with the scrapping of the Alliance tournament, which is basically PvP action outside of the sandbox as well, I think that there is demand, and I think that there is room for something like that in EVE Online. Now, my personal pie in the sky idea on this would of course be that Capsuleer PvP would be a sort of a sport in New Eden, not necessarily the hardcore 0-0 massive warfare, alliance warfare struggle over territory, but that in HiSec Capsuleers might just fight it out in a more even setting for fun, for the viewers, for fans, for things like that. And if that's the idea that CCP is maybe playing with, then I'm all for it. I'm of course just rambling on myself. This is my own personal take. I have absolutely no idea what CCP is thinking, and some people may call me naive at this point and say, well, just look at the rest of the industry, look at what Blizzard has been doing. Community stuff is just what's being phased out for a lot of these companies, and this is just CCP letting us down easy. There's not going to be an Alliance tournament in 2019, but there's no actual plans to pick it back up. I personally don't think that CCP Falcon or CCP in general is a company like that, and I do think that they have very much the intention of trying to find a different way, probably, of bringing us the Alliance tournament, but that it is something that they want to do in the future. Only the future will tell who is right on that, of course, but I personally do believe that CCP has the best in mind here. Next topic though, the Guardians Gala. We gotta talk about this a little bit because you probably saw it in the comments on my video when I explored the Guardians Gala as well. Lots of people are not happy with it, and I myself am not happy with it either. I've spent the video testing out the Guardians Gala, trying to find out what does it take to run these sites and to run this event, but well, it just doesn't feel rewarding. They have made the reward structure so complex and convoluted that I'm not even gonna bother with it. Why would I do the Guardians Gala and then maybe trade in a Gala ticket, specified is cost, and a chromodynamic tricar box seals in exchange for a Guardians Gala surprise gift feature? Good God, a loot box at the end of such a complex reward structure. I don't understand it. Please CCP, don't go this route. That really doesn't fit with EVE Online, and I'm just back to exploring. I'd rather run some 3-4 out of 10s, get a couple good faction drops, and feel 100 times more rewarded than running the Guardians Gala sites. At the moment, it's also looking like the missions don't reset after downtime. I'm not sure if it's a bug. Lots of people do report bugs when it comes to the resetting of the Guardians Gala missions, but if this is a design decision, in my opinion, another really big mistake. Give people like a daily routine to run for a couple of weeks so that they have that reset, and that I'm running a site, I'm getting some points, that they can get that back, and that they don't have to grind through 1, 2, 4, 8, I think it is, of these sides, of the bosses, etc. If that's a design decision, I again really don't agree with it, and it's really starting to feel like this is too much grind for absolutely no rewards on top of that for potentially loot boxes at the end. And I've said it in other videos as well, when it comes to the cerebral accelerators, which are now putting behind the BPC, and you need to gather up lots of goods in order to get them. I understand where you're coming from. I understand that you want to give miners and industrialists something to do for these events as well, but it's just too complex for what is basically the spine of the reward structure, in my opinion. It's that and the skins in these agency events. So yeah, they've made it too complex, they've made it too unrewarding, and they've made it too grindy. And so for me, Guardians Gala, sorry, not participating, just like with the Christmas event. I'm not sure what that one was called anymore even, but I'm back to exploring in EVE Online. So let's not just criticize this, let's also maybe try to find some potential solutions for this. And for that, I'm gonna start off with one of my favorite events from the agency that I did grind out completely. It was the Rogue Drone event, where you got those awesome looking Rogue Drone skins for the 4 battleships, the Take 1 battleships for every faction. Now that was doable, accessible, easy sites. Alpha clones could run that. We had a reset every downtime of your missions, so that you could decide on yourself, well, do I want to trigger the agency point 2 or 3 times? That means 6 sites or however many, or do I just want to keep going, get to 4 or 5, and like that you could plan ahead. Well, this event, I've got 2 weeks, I can finish this in 8 days by running that many sites, or I can finish this in within 10 or 12 days by running that many sites every day. It really felt like I started the event and I know exactly what I had to do in order to get those 4 skins, which was like the main reward structure, the main reason to keep going. The second one was of course the accelerators, which, if I'm not mistaken, just simply dropped from the bosses, the special rogue drones, the cruisers mostly that warped in at the end. From time to time you had a battleship rogue drone as well, and there you could get the accelerators. Now that was an event that was fun. Doesn't last too long, didn't feel too grindy, and led to a lot of PvP as well, because the sites were short enough that you would say, yeah, why not go into a wormhole where I have had a dozen of them available? Why not go into Lowsec where I have more of them available? Here on the Guardians Gala, it's such a tier up in the amount of time that you're spending in a site that I don't think lots of people are gonna risk their, on top of that, more expensive ship in order to run them solo. And the rewards just aren't there in the same way. So how would I fix this? Well, I would stop throwing out the baby with the bathwater every time you're doing a new agency event, and I would keep that basis, that rogue drone event, as basically a tier 1 that you are incorporating in every single agency event. So if this were the agency window, I would start up with always having that tier 1. I would call them maybe basic Guardians Gala sites for this event specifically, and make them so that these are solo friendly, alpha clone friendly. You can run them in a tier 1 cruiser. Basically, that's I think where I would put those. And the rewards there would be some accelerators. Sorry, I still want to see those just plain old drop for doing the content, but you can make those a little bit more annoying. You can make those 6 hours or perhaps 12 hours accelerators, something like that, so that if someone really wants to get all of that extra training time out of the event by only running tier 1s, well, they're gonna have to grind a lot of them, and they're gonna have to alarm clock themselves in order to just put in one of these accelerators that drop from the tier 1s. So they're not that great, but someone that's really dedicated could still do that just fully solo in a Tech 1 cruiser. Go ahead. On top of that, I would also put in some skins there, but make those the alpha skins, right? Tech 1 frigate, Tech 1 destroyer, Tech 1 cruiser. Perfect, very common, not too pricey. So these aren't super great rewards that are gonna make people billions obviously either, but it's gonna be a nice way to stay involved in the event and feel like you're making progress. After that, you would of course have a tier 2 that would be described as maybe the regular Guardians Gala sites. I would say the ones that we have right now, Omega friendly. You want to be comfortable soloing these sites. We're talking Tech 3 cruiser, a good battleship with Tech 2 modules, things like that will run these sites pretty easily, but we're no longer talking alpha clone friendly here. If alpha clones want to do that, well, get a couple of buddies together. And in these tier 2 sites, you could get a bit more creative. You could put in the BPCs for a tier 2 accelerator, which would then last 24 hours, and just give everything within the site so that you can make them and create those tier 2s for 24 hours. I would maybe even put the tier 1s for, let's say, 6 hours as part of the receipt for creating the tier 2 accelerators that would then last 24 hours. And that's how you would have the same reward structure still in place for even alpha clones and for anyone that's much more solo minded, but you could try to also give industrialists something to do, because those tier 2 accelerators will of course be worth a hell of a lot more, and you only need to be able to complete this once a day in order to stay up to date on your skill point training, which is really one of the main, I think, motivators for people in these agency events. And then of course I would also go for a tier 3, something akin to the VIP size that we just saw here. You're not fighting one battleship or something like that. No, we're talking carriers, maybe even supers for these pirate factions, and you're not gonna solo that. You're gonna want a fleet of Omegas in the very best ships, a smaller fleet, or you're gonna want a pretty damn big alpha clone fleet in order to do that, and this would of course yield you tier 3 rewards, maybe a 48-hour accelerator, maybe like a +1 extra on your modifier as well, and of course then as well these right here, rare exclusive Domination, Shadow Serpentis and Dead Space modules. That's what you put in those VIPs. Yeah, you get a fleet up, you get to do your best if you want those ISK rewards from these agency events. I don't think anyone would mind putting that behind really hard content, but yeah, that would basically be my own suggestion when it comes to the agency. If you want to not constantly have a feeling that, well, I ran the previous one, I had a lot of fun in the agency when it was really accessible, alpha friendly, and something like the Rogue Drone event, and now I've got the Guardians Gala. Ouch, right? Need a battleship, and what the hell are these rewards? It's completely unclear. Just don't switch out like that, but make these tiers within these events, and then if you want to, you can focus more on alpha clones for one event, only have tier 1s, and then in others you can go tier 2s, tier 3s, etc. You can go crazy like that, but start with that accessible basis that still feels rewarding, that is scalable, so that people can decide how much time and effort they're gonna put in with a daily reset, please. Thank you. so that people can plan out these what the effort that they'll have to put in this event in order to get like that basis of the reward, which would of course be the agency reward track, with of course keeping up with accelerators as much as possible. I think that's mostly what people expect out of these agency events. And yeah, that would be my idea. If this were the agency window, I would want to see tier 1 show clearly this is basic solo friendly alpha clones in a cruiser. You're gonna do that, have fun. Rewards not that great, 6-hour accelerators and some small ship tech 1 skins in there. Tier 2, current version of the event, of course, Omega friendly, small fleet, stuff like that, which is also something that I should mention, of course. Make it so that you can form a fleet and that everyone gets rewarded for running this size, not just the last hit gets the kill on his agency counter. That doesn't work. Sorry, CCP, you have to fix that. If you want to make this harder, if you want to incentivize people to make fleets to run these types of events, then you have to make it so that these events reward all fleet members, including someone that doesn't fire a bullet, but that has that's a logic, for instance. You gotta find a system for that. But yeah, that would be my idea, right? The tier 2 like that, and then a tier 3, yeah, you can go completely crazy, put in supers, make massive, require massive fleets, and then put in those highest tier rewards in there. So that's gonna be it for this discussion video, guys. If you guys have any opinions on that, definitely put those in the comments for the Alliance tournament. Do you think that we will see another one in 2020, or nope, is this the end of the Alliance tournament in your opinion? I would love to hear about that. But also, especially, I think, suggestions for these agency events. I personally like them when they're really accessible, fast paced. I can plan ahead. I know exactly, okay, but maybe 1 hour a day, I'll get these many points and I'll be able to get to the end. Or if I want to, all right, I'll grind 3-4 hours, save myself a couple of days, things like that. I think would be very helpful. And then an event like the Guardians Gala, well, let's be honest, for me, the reward structures has been made so complex and convoluted that I'm just skipping it. I feel a lot more rewards coming from just plain old exploration in EVE Online for me at the moment. Would love to know your thoughts and definitely your suggestions for the agency events in the comments. Thank you very much for watching, guys, and as always, I'll see you next time.